Okay, so let's begin with Python. So Python, इसके पहले कुछ नाम सुना है, कुछ पता है क्या कि Python क्या है? Anyone? People who know apart from you, the people who have no experience or let's say programming or something like that. So Python के बारे में सुना है क्या पहले कुछ?
Just we heard that Python is a language where you can do artificial intelligence and machine learning.
Right. You could do artificial intelligence and machine learning. सिर्फ AI और ML ही हो सकते हैं क्या Python पे और कुछ चीजें?
सब कुछ हो सकता है.
सब कुछ हो सकता है. Pretty much. जैसे
web applications like
Facebook and everything. ठीक है, आप वेबसाइट होस्ट कर सकते हो, आप मोबाइल एप्स बना सकते हो. ठीक है, you could do it for a lot of tasks. You would utilize it, use it for a lot of tasks, which is not just related to data science, but you're pretty much general purpose stuff also. Okay, so let's dive into Python. So to begin with, Python is the base language. Okay, but for our purpose, we are going to use something called as Conda. Okay, so Conda is the name of the company which has created a software called as Anaconda. Okay, Anaconda is the software which we are going to use for our purpose, which will give us a ID, something called as an IDE, which is called as your integrated development environment. Okay, so for our coding, we are going to use your Anaconda, which is an IDE provided by Conda. See, it is an open source package management system and environment management system, and it is supported by your Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. Okay, it is created for Python programmers, package dependency, and environment management for any language. So it is just an IDE. ठीक है, आप उस पे कोई भी लैंग्वेज रन सकते हैं, whether it is Python, whether it is R, whether it is Scala, any kind of programming language, you could utilize it on your Anaconda. Okay, it was created by Conda. That is just a basic link. Okay, so I'll not spend much time on this. This is just about the software and the tool and everything. Now let's dive into what Python is. So firstly, Python is a general purpose, dynamic, high level, and interpreted language. Okay, so I just read out the first statements. If I just ask you, okay, out of this, what are the keywords which you would take out, which you feel are important? Interpreted. Okay, so let's try to understand and break them down. Okay, in the actual meaning case. Yeah. General purpose. When I say general purpose, does it ring any bell? के general purpose क्या हो सकता है? अभी we just discussed. हाँ, like Percy and Anish very rightly pointed out कि you could use it for AI, you could use it for creating ML models for data science, and it is not just limited to that. You could also use it for building websites. Okay, building your applications. Okay? Software applications. Okay, it's a general purpose language and it is used for a variety of things. Second, it is dynamic. Okay, now dynamic. Anyone trying to guess? Try to guess. Unpredictable. Okay.
Without any hurdles.
Without any hurdles.
Keeps on changing.
Keeps on changing. Okay. So any people who might have who have coding experience in C or Java. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just open a whiteboard. So let's say there is C and there is Python. Okay, these are two programming languages. Now there is something called as variable. ठीक है, दोनों में वो क्या करता है? It just stores a data. ठीक है, let's say I'll just write a is equal to 5. A is equal to 5. That is, A is the variable and it is storing the data of 5. Now, if you have to write this code in Python, okay, you will just write it like this. Okay, but C mein, you would have to write it as int A and then a is equal to 5. So this int is basically an integer. 5 is what? It is an integer. That is the type. A में value क्या है? 5 integer है. So in C you have to specify the data type. आप जो भी वेरिएबल बना रहे हो आपको उसका पहले क्या करना पड़ रहा है? Declaration करना पड़ रहा है डेटा टाइप का. But in Python if you just write it as a is equal to 5, ये क्या करेगा? It would automatically infer. आपने खाली लिखा है a is equal to 5, तो Python क्या करेगा? वो infer कर लेगा कि इसका डेटा टाइप क्या है? Integer. If I write 5.2, then it would take it as a float value है. But in this, if you define it as int is equal to a and a is equal to 5.2, then it would throw an error because a में आपने क्या बोला है कि खाली integer value आनी चाहिए and you're trying to pass a float. ठीक है? So in that sense, your Python is a dynamic language. Okay, that you don't need to specify your data types in advance. Okay, clear everyone? Next is high level. Any guesses? High level क्या हो सकता है?
In terms of computers, high-level languages are simpler.
Simpler. Okay, when we say high level language, it is very simple and human interpretable. मतलब क्या? As a human, it is easy to read for us. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Again, I'll compare it to C. So there is something called as libraries. ठीक है, ये प्री डिफाइंड कोड रहता है जो हम यूज करते हैं. ठीक है, जस्ट टू इंपोर्ट जस्ट टू यूटिलाइज इट. ज्यादा बड़ा कोड नहीं लिखना पड़े. समवन हैज ऑलरेडी रिटन इट एंड शेयर्ड इट. अब अगर ये लाइब्रेरी को मेरे को इंपोर्ट करना है इन सी, देन आई विल हैव टू राइट समथिंग लाइक दिस. हैश include conio.h and I'll have to write hash include stdio.h. Okay, now in Python if I have to import any library, I was
standard for this in C and the
this
H or STG.
this is the standard code. But now let's say if you want to import in Python, I'll have to write import the name of the library. So I'll just write pandas and that is done. Okay, now you tell me which one is easier to understand and read. Pandas.
Python.
Okay, so that is what is high level is. High level is very easy for a human to interpret. Okay, if you're reading this for the first time, it would say, okay, what is this written? This is like hash include control input output. CON is for control, IO is for input output. Include STD, that is standard input output. IO is input output. So it is a machine level language. It is more of a machine level language. This is more a high level. This is a low level language. This is a high level language. Okay. Then next is your interpreted language. Interpreted means what? That it executes line by line. When you are running, just a minute. So interpreted means what? It executes the code line by line. What happens is when you have worked with C or Java, क्या होगा कि let's say you have a 50 lines of code. ठीक है, Python में भी आपके पास 50 lines of code है. So what C will do is first it would take that 50 lines of code and it would compile it. It would do something called as a compiling, wherein it would take the 50 lines of code and it would compile, and then it would send it for execution. फिर क्या करेगा वो? कोड को एग्जीक्यूशन के लिए भेजेगा. So see again, let's compare. So code, I'll come to that. So code is any piece of instruction or language which you write to for the machine to execute. So it is
We are getting from the library.
no. Library is something different.
Code is a program that we
Code is a program. It is basically a set of instructions. So let's say if I say के
जैसे भी अपने con.i लिखा था वो
हाँ.
it's a code.
it's a code. It's a code. Any instructions or any input which you give to your machine for it to carry out a task, that is a code. That is a program. Okay. वो क्या करेगा, आपने जो भी लिखा, it would create that, it would take that task and it would execute that task. And वो task का जो भी execution है, it would store in something called as a memory. ठीक है, वो क्या करेगा, it would store it in a memory. I'll come to that in a bit. Okay. ठीक है. So I was on interpreter and compiler. Compiler क्या करेगा, let's say I have C and I have Python. Two programming language, distinct. I have 50 lines of code over here. I have 50 lines of code over here. Now what happens is, in C, जब मैं इसको run करता हूँ, first it would go into a process of compilation. If this compilation, it would compile it directly, and then it would send it for execution. Okay. Now there's a possibility that there could be a execution error. Let's say on your line 20 there was an error. ठीक है, आपके line number 20 पे क्या हुआ, कुछ error था, compile होता टाइम नहीं कैच हुआ. Okay, उसने compile करके उसको भेज दिया, और जब execute हो रहा था, it said कि on your line 20 there is an error. ठीक है, that is your compilation. Python में क्या होगा, Python is an interpreted language. It means what? It runs line by line. ठीक है, so let's say यहाँ पे I have an error on line 20. So it would start executing from line 1, line 2, line 3. As soon as it encounters line 20, it would halt the code. And it would say that there is an error in your code. Okay? So what is the difference between compiler and interpreter? Your compiler compiles the code, and if there is an error, it would throw an error during the execution. Python में there is direct execution. Okay? If there is an it executes line by line. क्या करेगा, line by line आपका code execute होगा, and as soon as it encounters an error, it would halt the execution of the code there and there itself. So there are two things. यहाँ पे आपका compilation होता है, that is one part, and the second is your execution. In your Python, there is direct execution. ठीक है, everyone clear? Any questions? Okay.
कंपाइलर में बोलेगा तो ये सब एक साथ ही कंपाइल कर रहा है.
हाँ, it is just building a block of code where it is creating a block of code,
And when you're
then
running the program, that time it will show that this was an error in the program.
yes, in that block of code.
But it will show exactly that 20th line had the problem.
Yes, wherever you have that line, wherever you have that problem, it would say कि ये line में आपका
Whether it will C or Python. Python तो line by line ही जा रहा है.
line by line ही जा रहा है, तो उसको जैसे ही जो भी line पे एक error मिला,
Problem दिखता है उसको बोले ये line में
हाँ,
problem.
so that is why it is interpreted language.
जैसे 5 की जगह 5.2 डाल दिया है.
हाँ, so अगर Python में तो नहीं देगा, C में देगा. अगर आपका कुछ comma miss हो गया या colon miss हो गया, that those are the rules. If you miss out on something like that, then it would say that there is an error in them. ठीक है,
इसमें ऐसा नहीं बताएगा.
इसमें
Python में नहीं बताएगा.
Python दोनों में बताएगा. इसमें खाली क्या होगा, प्रोसेस थोड़ा अलग है. इसमें देखो, इसमें पहले डायरेक्टली कोड एग्जीक्यूट नहीं होगा.
Okay.
पहले कोड को लेगा, एक it would put it in a box.
Okay.
ठीक है, and it would not see whether the thing I am putting in the box is it
problem होता है.
right or wrong. It would directly take whatever you give. आपको इंस्ट्रक्शन दिया, सही गलत सोचेगा नहीं. It would take it, put it in a box, and then it would give it to some third person, let's say someone else, and that person is doing that execution. And when he is doing that, he will say कि अरे आपके बॉक्स में आपने जो ये 20th आइटम मुझे दिया है वो गलत है. ठीक है, so it would again come back, you would fix it, and again you would fix it. Python में क्या होगा, you are directly giving to that person, so there is no middleman. आपका compiler is like the middleman. आप डायरेक्टली क्या करोगे, आप डायरेक्ट पाइथन थर्ड पार्टी को जो आप दे रहे हो,
एक एक करके दे दें.
एक करके आप दे रहे हो, उस आपने दिया बोला.
बराबर नहीं.
हाँ, so that is the difference between your interpreter and compiler.
But both will show that ये digit जैसे
हाँ.
बताया वो तो बताएंगे.
दोनों ही बताएगा, क्योंकि थर्ड ultimately it is going to the third party. The third person who is receiving it, he will say कि नहीं भाई ये तो गलत आइटम है, irrespective of there is a middleman involved or not, or it is coming directly. Okay. Now see. So clear with these 4 points, it is a general purpose, dynamic, high level and interpreted programming language. It was created by Guido van der Stem. He is the founder during 1985s and 1990s. Okay. It supports object-oriented programming approach to develop applications. So this is called as OOPS concept, object-oriented programming. This has been widely used. Now, the important point here is it is very flexible, your OOPS. So let's say if you want to perform a task 100 times. So will you sit and write a code 100 times, the same piece of code? No, right? Basically, you will create an object of that code, okay? And whenever you want to run the same task again, you would call that object. वो क्या करेगा आपके लिए वो काम कर देगा, okay? So your object-oriented programming is supported by your Python, and it is one of the very important feature of
It's a pre-programmed, what you're saying.
Yes, it is kind of pre-programmed wherein you are just giving your logic for the first time. Okay, matlab, if you have to do something 10 times, you would not write the logic 10 times. You would write it and one time and store it somewhere. And whenever you want to perform that task again, you would invoke that piece of logic and it would perform the task. Okay, clear?
Yes.
Everyone? Okay. So see, what are the features of Python? It is easy to learn and use as compared to other programming languages like C, C++. It is an expressive language. So it is mostly like when you're coding in Python, you will feel that you're writing in English. Your majority of the programming language जो आप लिखते हो, Java, C++, they don't make sense. A lot of things. Okay, it's like machine के लिए आप लिख रहे हो, something like that. But in Python, anything you write, it would make logical sense to you at an English level. You'll understand कि अच्छा हो क्या रहा है. If there is a keyword, let's say if, so basically you're applying some condition, right? Whenever you have two thoughts in your mind, you ask a if question to it. अगर ऐसा हुआ तो क्या करूँगा? ऐसा हुआ तो क्या करूँगा? So in Python, whenever you're programming, your keywords and everything makes proper sense as compared to other programming language. Okay, interpreted language, we just discussed that it runs line by line. It is a cross-platform language. Now, what that means is, let's say, मेरे पास machine, I wrote a code on my machine, okay, and I shared it with my friend, the exact same code. अब मैंने जब code लिखा, वो Windows का machine था, और मेरा जो friend के पास machine है, वो let's say Linux का machine. So the same code, without making any changes, would work. Okay, until unless you have anything outside of Python, the same code जो मैंने Windows पे लिखा है, that would work on your Linux and on your Mac OS also. Apple के भी इस पे चलेगा, Linux पे भी चलेगा.
यानी ये तीन ही है क्या खाली? Windows, Apple and Linux.
Linux is very vast. ठीक है, दूसरे OS है, but worldwide जो सबसे ज्यादा है, these three are there, and this Linux is the base programming language. उसके ऊपर बहुत सारे अलग-अलग सॉफ्टवेयर बने हुए, जैसे there is Kali Linux, OS and all. ठीक है, so these are your operating system which is based on Unix. Unix करके एक लैंग्वेज है, उसके ऊपर आपका Linux बना है, Kali Linux बना है, CentOS बना है, बहुत सारे ऐसे OS है, but the most prominent ones are your Windows, Linux and your Mac OS. ठीक है, they are operating systems. Next, it is free and open source. That is, you don't have to pay anything. You can easily download it. Open source, you don't have to pay anything. It is an object-oriented language. Okay, it is an object-oriented language that wherein you will create an object. You can create an object and you could reuse it later as and when you.
ये आपने oops बोला था वही है ना जो?
हाँ, ये oops है जो हमने पहले डिस्कस किया था ना. It is the same thing. Okay, large standard library, that is basically there are a lot of predefined libraries. Okay, कि see आज से I think 10-15 years back आपको अगर एक सिंपल सी एक्सेल फाइल इंपोर्ट करनी होती थी तो you would have to write 20-30 lines of code just to read a Excel file in Python. But now when you want to read the same Excel file, a CSV file or Excel file, you just have to call a command called as read_CSV or read_Excel. वो क्या करेगा? It would read the file. You just have to specify the file का path and the file name. It would read it for you into the Python memory. ठीक है? So that read Excel at the back end उसके पीछे कुछ कोड होगा. तो वो read Excel के लिए there is some code which is getting invoked, right? Which someone has already written. किसी ने पहले लिख के they have contributed it to the society or to the community of Python. Okay, so that is your large standard library, and this is just not for reading a file, but for all your different tasks for performing your day-to-day activities, whether it is data science or general science, your general purpose activities. It is very helpful, and you have a large standard library supported. ठीक है, everyone clear? Okay, let's move forward. Now let's start with actual Python fundamentals. Okay, just so see, variable is the basic fundamental building block of Python. Whenever I say a variable, okay, it is nothing but a address in your memory. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Now, last week we met for the first time. Okay, I saw your face. Let's say I'll just take an example. I saw his face. Okay, his face is a data for me. When I saw him for the first time, इनका जो face है or anyone's face is the data for me. And when he introduced himself to me, he said person. Okay, so वो data को I'm associating with some name in my brain. मेरे brain में I'm trying to associate his face with a name. So मेरी जो brain की memory है, the same memory I'm trying to replicate in my machine. Okay, तो समझ लो ये machine की memory है. Okay, now his face is my data point. वो face, let's say this week I saw that face and I tried to recollect it. So that face is nothing but the data for me. This is in the memory. Memory में कहीं पे एक location है, कहीं पे address है, somewhere in my brain. The face is stored as a data point. Okay. Now when he introduced himself, he said person. Okay. So that name is the variable which I am associating with the data. So basically, your variable is a address in your memory, okay, which points to some data point, okay. So see, it is a name which is used to refer some memory location. For your computer memory or in your real world also, when your brain is the memory, okay, it is the storage of memory. So when you see someone for the first time, you see some kind of data. Some data is coming to you and you're trying to store that data in your brain. Okay. You're trying to store, and how are you trying to remember? Using some name. So just like you have name in your real life, your variables are like name in your Python. Okay. So see, variable is a name which is used to refer to some memory location. In Python, we don't need to specify the type of variable because Python is a type info language and smart enough to get variable type. This we discussed when we compared C versus Python. I don't have to specify it is an integer. जैसे हम C में करते हैं कि int a is equal to 5. But Python में मैंने क्या लिखा? A is equal to 5. Now last week, let's say Percy introduced, he just said Percy. And I also, when I was registering it, I didn't have to register it. Percy gender male. No, right? I had to just look at him and I was like, okay, it is automatically getting input. As compared to C or any other programming language, you would have to specify. So Python में आपको specify करना नहीं पड़ता. ठीक है? Clear? What is a variable? Everyone? It's a name in your memory. So variable names. Now, as and when we proceed forward, right? So your programming language, जो भी आप एक program लिखते हो, your program is a set of instructions. A set of instructions which you give to your machine. आप अपने machine को क्या कर रहे हो? एक set of instructions दे रहे हो. तो वो instructions देने के लिए भी there are certain rules or certain syntax. There are certain rules and certain syntax which you have to follow. कि अगर आप ये rule follow नहीं करोगे, then you are not doing it the right way because it has been designed in a specific manner. उसके कुछ rules हैं, वो rules हमें follow करने हैं. Okay. So variables के लिए क्या rule है? Variables name can be a group of both letters and digits, but they have to begin with a letter or an underscore. Okay. So your variable का नाम उसको आप कैसे भी दे सकते हो. It can be a combination of your numbers and letters, but they cannot begin with a number. जैसे if I just write a is equal to 5, let's say this is my code. When I run this, मेरे memory में क्या होगा? 5 is the data point and it would be pointed by a. मैंने क्या किया? एक वेरिएबल क्रिएट किया, a is equal to 5. मेरे मेमोरी में 5 जाके स्टोर हो गया. Think of it as the face, and this is the name. Now when I just do print a, तो मेरे को क्या आएगा? Value 5, right? Okay. Now this is the rule. Can I write it as 1a is equal to 5? No. Your variable name cannot start with a number. It cannot start with a number. However, it can start with a underscore. So let's say 1a. So underscore say you can start it. Simplest rule, whenever you're defining a variable, don't start it with a number. Okay? Even if you don't get this, don't start it with a number. You could write it as A12. This is correct. Okay, but it cannot start with a number. A say any alphabet, it can start with any alphabet, but it cannot be a number. It cannot start with a number. Okay. Variables are case sensitive and should not be a keyword. Okay. What do you understand by case sensitive? Anyone? Capital and small. So let's say I have stored it as a is equal to 5, and when I'm trying to print it, I'm passing it as caps A. What would happen? It would give you an error. Okay, a is not defined because I have stored it as small a. Okay, so how would you give information about someone who you don't know? You don't have that person's name in your memory. How would you be able to give an output for that? Okay, so variable clear. I'll come to keywords in a bit. Variable clear, everyone.
So this underscore that underscore, it can be any special character or just underscore?
No, just only underscore. You cannot write it like question mark a is equal to 2. That is again incorrect. Only one exception is allowed, that is underscore. Only underscore is allowed. Apart from that, no other special. Okay, following everyone. Any questions?
No.
Pakka? If any questions, feel free to ask me at any point of time. ठीक है? पक्का समझा सबको? आगे बढ़ूं?
Yes.
अंडरस्कोर ए डालेगा तो भी रन होगा, है ना?
हाँ, अंडरस्कोर ए पे भी it would run. ठीक है? It would execute on underscore.
Also, it will not take any space in between.
That's one more rule, that A1, if I put a space and let's say 2, so this would not run. Okay,
स्पेस भी नहीं चलेगा.
space भी नहीं चलेगा. A1, A2, A space 3, this will not work. Okay, there is no space allowed between your variable names. Okay,
These are different variables, not the A. But originally A का बात कर रहे थे वो नहीं है ना.
हाँ, ये अलग variables.
variables.
हाँ, these are your different variables. Okay, clear everyone? Okay, moving forward. Keywords. Now see, keywords are special reserved words which convey a special meaning to the compiler or interpreter. Okay, keywords क्या है? They are special reserved words which are already predefined. Okay, so I'll take an example. Now let's say, who is the finance minister of India? Nirmala Sitharaman. So now let's say Nitish comes to class and he says that I am the finance minister of India. Is that true?
No.
No. Okay. Now let's say Anish, he says I am the budget minister of India, or I am the transport minister of India. Is that true?
No.
No, right? So your words like prime minister, finance minister, your transport minister, they are reserved. And they are pointing to one specific person in that
In that period.
for that period. Let's say I'm just assuming that we are speaking for 5 years. अभी current जो मैं time पे remove हूँ, I'm speaking about present. Okay. So can any normal citizen, any person come and claim my finance minister? No, right? Similarly, in Python, you have certain special keywords which you cannot use as variables, and they have a specific task. Okay, they have a specific task. जैसे आपका finance minister है, what he will do? He will overlook all the things related to finances. Your transport minister, he will look everything which is related to the transport and infrastructure. You have your health minister who would look everything after your health related and your infrastructure related to that. Okay. Similarly, Python में we have some keywords which are reserved. मतलब उसको तो आप variable की तरह use नहीं कर सकते हो. Firstly, because no one can claim like I am the prime minister or finance minister. And secondly, they are performing some kind of specific task. So उसी तरह से every keyword which is reserved, they have some special meaning which they give to the interpreter. Okay. So what are those keywords? Let's see. True, false, if, else, try, catch, import. So they are just not names. They are reserved keywords and they have some specific task. जैसे I cannot write import is equal to 10. This is wrong because import is a keyword. Import is a keyword. It is a reserved keyword. So इसको तो मैं variable की तरह use नहीं कर सकता. Any common man can't claim to be a minister, finance minister. Okay, and it has some specific task. इसका task क्या है? To import libraries. Its task is to import libraries. Okay. If करके I can't write it as 5. Okay, because this is a keyword. Okay, reserved keyword है. If का क्या है? When you want to apply some conditions, आपको कुछ conditions check करनी है, तब क्या करोगे आप? तब आप if use करोगे, right? But you cannot use it for importing libraries. Okay, you can't use it for checking conditions. Okay, so this इसका task क्या है? It is reserved to import libraries. जब मेरे को कोई library बाहर से लाना है, then I would use import keyword. मेरे को कोई condition check करनी है, then I would use if. Okay, so that is what is your keywords in a nutshell, wherein they are special reserved words which convey a special meaning to the compiler or the interpreter. Each keyword has a special meaning and a specific operation. Okay. Third rule is these keywords can't be used as a variable. You cannot use any keyword as a variable name. Some examples are true, false, if, else, try, catch, and import. These are the keywords. They are not limited. There are more keywords. So as and when we explore with the practical hands-on, we will see more keywords. Okay, these are just a few of them listed away. Okay, clear? Yes. Everyone? Okay. Now, coming to operators. Now you have defined your variables. So let's say A is equal to 5. B is equal to 10. ये क्या है? आपने आपके variables define कर लिए. Now there has to be some kind of operations when you are running or when you are writing a code. आपका variable क्या है? It is the most basic fundamental building block. ठीक है, तो इनके बीच में there should be some kind of interaction. So now let's say, again let's come back to the example of ministers. So let's say there is this transport minister, okay, and he wants to build your any kind of road. So he would have to get the budget approval from the finance minister, right? Okay, bhai, I am trying to build a bridge, or I'm trying to build a highway, or I'm trying to do a construction. This is the so and so cost. Okay, that gets approved by your finance minister or your prime minister, right? And then finally that project starts. Similarly, when you're defining a variable, ये खाली variable define हो गया. A is equal to 5, B is equal to 5. There has to be an interaction between your variables. Okay, so that happens through something called as your operators. Operators क्या करते हैं? They perform the interaction between your variables. So what are the types of variables? There are total 6 types of variables. Operators, I'll come to that. So see, operators are particular symbols that are used to perform operations on operands. So these A is equal to 5, B is equal to 10. A and B are basically your operands. Okay, जिन पे operation होने वाला है, and who is going to perform your operations? That is your operators. Operations क्या है? Basically they are interactions between your variables. What are this thing? Operators, they are basically your interaction between your variables so that your code execution can happen. Okay, so if I just write C is equal to A plus B. So C में अब क्या आएगा? A is right. So this is the operator. Everyone agrees? A and B are your operands, जिसपे आपका operation perform हो रहा है. ठीक है? So there are different types of operators which we have. First is your arithmetic operator. ठीक है? Arithmetic operator means what? आपके mathematical operations जो भी होते हैं, उसमें क्या क्या है? Plus, minus, multiplication, division, and your exponential. Exponential is where cube. So let's say if I write
दो पूछा था सर,
क्या?
एक्सपोनेंशियल वहां पे भी था ना. अच्छा वो
ये-
स्टार ये
अच्छा,
मल्टीप्लिकेशन है.
हाँ, ये मल्टीप्लीकेशन है और ये एक्सपोनेंशियल है. मतलब इफ आई राइट a is equal to 2 and b is equal to 3, and if I write a raised to b, that is 2 raised to 3, that is 2 into 2 into 2, that is your cube, that is 8.
सर दो
ठीक है?
दो डालना पड़ता है सर.
हाँ, we'll have to put it 2 ना, तो if you put it 1 ना, तो उसको लगेगा कि multiplication. So you'll have to write it as 2
1 is multiplication, 2 is for
exponential. Okay, clear everyone? Arithmetic operator. Next is your
सर डिवीजन भी है सर.
division and second last. So there are two types.
परसेंटेज ना.
हाँ, that is percentage. That is your division operator. So एक ऐसा है, एक ऐसा है. ठीक है? So one is float division, one is integer division. When we come to hands-on now, that would be clear. For now, just remember that this is used for your division operation.
Modulus.
हाँ, modulus. ठीक है? This is modulus. हाँ, this is modulus or division, and then you have this as a division. So एक होता है float और एक होता है int. So the one which returns you output in float after dividing, and one returns in integer. Okay, clear everyone? Next is your relational operators. Relational operator क्या है? They basically check the relationship between your two variables. ठीक है? So for example, I'll just write it over here. I have A is equal to, let's say, 6, B is equal to 10. Any mathematical operation would be, let's say, C is equal to A minus B. That would be 6 minus 10 minus 4. That is your arithmetic. Okay. Next, you have your relationship operator. Look at the symbols. Greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, and the last one is not equal. Okay. So basically, ये क्या करेगा? If I write A is greater than B, so this would be like 6 is greater than 2. So इसका output, is it true or is it false?
False.
This is false. So this is giving you false. So the output of your relationship operator is a Boolean output. Okay. What does Boolean means? Boolean means either true or either false. Output आपका क्या रहेगा? या तो either true रहेगा या तो false रहेगा. If I write 3 equal to 5, is this true or false? False. If I write 4 equal to 4, true. ठीक है? So that is what is your relationship operator is, wherein it is comparing, computing the relationship between your variables. Okay, how are they related?
ये दो के बाद equal to equal होता है अपने को.
हाँ. If you are checking it, if you are checking a relationship between two variables,
Then we will put on 2 equals.
2 equals to, because मैं compare कर रहा हूँ, मैं check कर रहा हूँ. ठीक है?
Only for equals, not for greater than or less than.
That also you can write. So let's say I can write A is equal to 2. Okay. B is equal to 6. And I'll write A is less than equal to 6. Sorry, B. Okay, this is B. So what is the value of A? 2.
It's less
2 is
than-
less than equal to 6. And this is true.
Yes.
This is true. I can also write as, let's say, A is equal to 6 now.
But equal to तो नहीं है. 2 is not equal to 6.
Huh, but it is still less than.
Less
So
than
this is like your either equal to or less than.
Yes.
So even one is satisfied, then it would be true.
Any of these two.
Any of these two condition has to be true. Okay, that is why it is less than or equal to. We don't say less than and equal to. We say less than or equal to. Now that is why either one has to be true. Okay, clear? Everyone? Okay.
So equal to B has to be used twice.
Twice when you're doing a comparison. And in third, it has to be used only one, that is your assignment operator. This is the basic, the most basic fundamental operator. That is, let's say I just write C is equal to 10. So this is just a assignment operator wherein to the variable C, I am assigning the value as 10. You have plus equal to, you have minus equal to, into equal to. That we'll see when we do hands-on. But to explain it, they are also called as shorthand operations. So basically, if I have C plus equal to 10, okay, and I already have the value of C as 5. So this is nothing but C is equal to C plus 10. Okay, मतलब मैं C में खाली 10 की वैल्यू बढ़ा रहा हूँ. ठीक है, so this is a short way of writing it. जो मैंने लिखा है, नीचे क्या लिखा है? C is equal to C plus 10, उसको शॉर्ट फॉर्म में ऐसा लिखा है C plus equal to 10. ठीक है, क्लियर? फॉर नाउ असाइनमेंट ऑपरेटर में खाली इतना याद रखो दैट इट इज यूज्ड टू असाइन अ सर्टेन वैल्यू. एक मेरे को कोई वेरिएबल को वैल्यू देनी है तो आई एम यूजिंग माय इक्वल टू असाइन ऑपरेटर. ठीक है, क्लियर एवरीवन? नेक्स्ट इज योर लॉजिकल ऑपरेटर. नेक्स्ट इज योर लॉजिकल ऑपरेटर. व्हाट आर दे? एंड और नॉट. ठीक है, लॉजिकल ऑपरेटर क्या करता है? व्हेन यू वांट टू चेक मल्टीपल कंडीशंस. ठीक है, व्हेन यू वांट टू चेक मल्टीपल कंडीशंस, at that point of time you could use your logical operator. So let's take an example. I have A is equal to 5, B is equal to 10, C is equal to 15. Now let's say I want to compare all of this and find the largest number. The largest number I want to just have a statement. So I want to compare them all together. So let's say A is greater than B and B is greater than C. Okay. So what would happen?
A is not better than B.
No, I'm just hypothetically saying, I'm just giving. So 5 is greater than 10 and 10 is greater than 15. So this is true or false?
False.
False. And this is
False.
false. So the output would be false. So basically when you want to check multiple conditions, आपको जब multiple conditions साथ में check करनी है, at that moment you would use your logical operators.
Since both the conditions has to be proper, then only it will work, right?
हाँ, मतलब there are rules, your OR gate and AND gate. I will explain that. We'll come to that.
Like if one is positive and false and one is true, then
हाँ.
So,
अच्छा, I'll explain one. Just wait a minute. So first let's just complete this, then I'll explain this. So let's say and इसके पहले हम जब comparison कर रहे थे, we were only checking A is greater than B, A is less than C. That is your relationship operator, जहाँ पे आप relationship check कर रहे हो between your variables. ठीक है? Now in this I am comparing multiple conditions, okay, and how I am able to link them using your logical operator. देखो ये left पे जो है A is greater than B. This is your which type of comparison? Relational. Checking the relation. Now I am doing two things at the same time using your logical operator. Logical operator is linking your two operations together. Okay, this one is clear. This is clear with everyone. Okay, now I'll come to the gates part. Now see, क्या होता है? There is something called as the concept of logic gates. ठीक है? And your logical operation, which is this one, it has been derived from these gates. ठीक है? There are three types of gates: AND gate, OR gate, and NOT gate. The basic fundamentals. इसके अलावा there is NAND and everything. We'll not go there right now. But there is NOR gate, there is NAND gate, okay, which is a combination of your null, NOR, and everything. So we'll first understand what is AND gate. So basically, your machine, let's say machine or your gates, only takes input in the form of 0 or 1. Okay? हाँ. So your AND gates has two inputs, okay, X and Y. क्या करेगा? इसके खाली दो इनपुट्स है, X and Y. So your AND gates look something like this. दो इनपुट, ये आउटपुट, ये आपका X एक इनपुट. अब मैंने स्टार्टिंग में क्या बोला? It takes input in either 0 or 1. So इसके possible combinations बना के देखते हैं. What are all the possible combinations of 0 and 1? So basically you would have
0, 1.
I'll just write it like this. So see, 0 0 हो सकता है, 0 1 हो सकता है, 1 0 हो सकता है, and 1 1 हो सकता है. दोनों इनपुट 0 हो सकते हैं, दोनों में से दूसरा वाला 1 हो सकता है, एक 0 हो सकता है, पहला वाला 1 हो सकता है, दूसरा वाला 0 हो सकता है, and दोनों 1 हो सकता है. ठीक है? Similarly, I'll not write the output right now. There is a OR gate. OR gate में भी same possibility. Okay, same inputs. Now, your AND gate, it would produce a 1 only if both the inputs are 1. ठीक है? मतलब क्या? कि अगर मेरा कोई भी input, if even one of my input is 0, the output would be 0. Even if one of my input is 0, my output would be 0. OR gate में क्या होता है? इसका exact opposite. यहाँ पे 0, 1, 1, 1. Even if one of my input is 1, then my output would be 1. देखो, हाँ, I'll explain. AND gate है 0 0 0 1 1 0 1. ये दो इनपुट आ रहे, पॉसिबल 4 कॉम्बिनेशन. अब देखो, मेरा अगर एक भी इनपुट 0 है तो मेरा आउटपुट क्या रहेगा? 0 रहेगा.
0 and 0 is 0.
हाँ, मतलब देखो, X और Y आपका इनपुट है, ठीक है, ये आपका आउटपुट है. एंड गेट का रूल है कि अगर मेरे को कहीं पे भी 0 आया इनपुट में तो मैं 0 दे दूंगा. ठीक है, चाहे X और Y कहीं पे भी 0 आए, मैं क्या करूंगा? आउटपुट में 0 दे दूंगा. तो मेरा X एंड Y में क्या है? इनपुट 0 0, आउटपुट क्या दिया? 0 0 1 0 आ गया तो 0 1 0 0 1 1 1. So when both the inputs are 1, then only your AND gate would give the output as 1. जब आपके दोनों इनपुट 1 होंगे तभी आपका AND gate आउटपुट 1 दे.
ये बाइनरी नंबर्स के हिसाब से बता रहे हैं. ये एग्जांपल है.
नहीं, this is actually binary नहीं, this is
Actually,
हाँ,
जिस तरह से
so-
करना वाला है
हाँ, जिस तरह से this is actually true and false. जो
Okay.
zero है that is false.
बराबर
हाँ,
I'll give one example of this.
हाँ,
If there is a 20-story building,
हाँ,
there are two lifts.
okay.
Okay. If you want to reach the top floor,
Mhm.
anyone you take, you reach the top floor.
Okay.
That is all gate.
Oh.
Or if can I give a very simple example?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Party है, couples are invited. Okay, only couple is allowed. तो दोनों नहीं जाएंगे तो कोई नहीं जाएगा. सिर्फ हस्बैंड जाएगा तो नहीं अलाउड. सिर्फ वाइफ जाएगी तो नहीं अलाउड. हस्बैंड दोनों जाएंगे तो अलाउड. खत्म.
correct. That's the best.
And same way, either और जा सकते हैं. दोनों नहीं जाएंगे तो nobody. सिर्फ वाइफ जाएगी तो अलाउड. सिर्फ हस्बैंड जाएगा तो अलाउड. हस्बैंड दोनों जाएंगे तो अलाउड.
That's a really nice example. Thank you very much. ठीक है, that's very right. That's what he said. कि दोनों.
Sorry.
No.
So clear now. So see, AND gate में क्या होगा?
दोनों चीजें.
दोनों चीजें. Okay. अब OR gate में भी
Anyone.
anyone. Now last is your
दोनों भी और anyone.
हाँ, NOT gate is a simpler one. यहाँ पे you have only one input. Let's say X. Input क्या होगा? 0 1. Output में क्या होगा? इसका रिवर्स हो जाएगा. 0 है तो 1, 1 है तो 0. ठीक है? Clear? What is gates? So for your logical operators, you have AND or NOT. ठीक है?
Not is when the couple is reversed. ये तो वो नहीं आएगा.
There is fight going on. ठीक है? Now last two, membership operators and identity operators, I'll cover when we do hands-on. ठीक है? ये identity वाला is more related to your memory. कि जब आपका variable create हो रहा है, तो वो memory में कैसे store हो रहा है. ठीक है? And your membership operator is when you are trying to check कि whether a certain element is a part of your data structure or not. ठीक है? So I'll explain that when we come to that. जैसे again, I'll explain membership. It's simple compared to your identity one. So let's say I have a variable A is equal to, let's say, car. Okay. So I will write A in car. So basically I'm checking, is A a part of my string car? It is. So it will give me true. Okay. So this is checking the membership of this element A in my data element or data structure car. Okay, that is what is your membership operator does. It checks whether a certain element which you have passed is a part of your data structure or not. ठीक है?
A in car लिखा है.
हाँ.
तो वो in है. A equal to is as good as in.
नहीं, I didn't get your question. Can you repeat?
अभी पहले आपने लिखा A is equals to car inverted commas.
हाँ.
It has to be in inverted commas.
No, it's not necessary. See, I'll come to that. इसको avoid कर दो. Don't look at it. Just look at this one. This has to be in double quotes because there is a rule. Okay, when you're refining a string, a data type in string, it has to be in a double quote.
String is in.
No, string is car. In is your membership operator. आपका जो membership operator है ना, that is in. Okay, that has to be your operator which you are checking. So basically, you are checking कि A करके कुछ है क्या मेरे data structure car में. अगर है तो it would give
A
you
is in car. CAR के अंदर A है.
A है तो it would give you true.
तो वो ऐसा कोई और भी इसमें रहेगा तो भी चलेगा ऐसा.
हाँ, you could give anything. Let's say you
Not
could
necessarily car यानी कार तो है ही है. तो
हाँ.
दूसरा और दो चार भी वर्ड्स रहेंगे तो उसमें भी वो
check कर सकते हो, but that is a bit advanced. मतलब इसके लिए we won't use string. We would use some other data type like list or dictionary. उसमें we would check. ठीक है? So for now we are just sticking to the string part of it. ठीक है? Clear? Okay. Now control statement. ठीक है. So let's quickly recollect for now. What is a variable? Who tell me?
It's a name.
It's a name. What it does?
Store the data.
To store the data and points to the memory location. Okay. What is the rule for variable?
Not starting with number,
Not starting with numbers.
reserve words.
Reserve words.
No
It should
space.
not be key reserve words. No spaces.
Start with
And-
underscore.
Start with underscore or
Letter.
letters. Okay. It cannot start with the number. Okay.
And also it will, we can go up to certain characters, right?
Huh.
We can't be,
You can't keep it like ideally we won't practically do that. मतलब ज़्यादा बड़ा कीवर्ड का नाम नहीं लिख सकते हो आप 400-500 का. It's like you could write out of 40-50. इतना लंबा you don't write it. हाँ, there's a limit on it. But ideally आप जब नाम लिखते हो वेरिएबल का you try to keep it relatable to you. कि ये डेटा फ्रेम में डेटा फ्रेम ये वेरिएबल में क्या वैल्यू जा रही है. So you will try to keep it appropriate as per your understanding.
But with underscore, you can start with digit, right?
After underscore, you can.
Yes, after underscore you can write it. Write it in somewhere. Underscore a underscore 1 भी लिख सकते हो आप इसको. You could write 1 also. Okay. ठीक है. Then next है your keywords. Keywords क्या है?
Reserve words, system words.
Reserve words.
And
pass, break,
Pass, break, continue, print,
import.
import. They perform a specific task and give a special meaning to your compiler or interpreter. ठीक है. Can my keywords be variables?
No.
No. Okay. Can my variables be keywords? No, they can't be. Okay. ठीक है. Perfect. उसके बाद we saw operators. What are operators?
Interpretation, sorry. Operations on data.
To perform the activity.
To perform
the,
activity.
interaction between the variables.
Interaction between your variables or perform to tasks or activities between your variables. What are the type of operators?
Arithmetic operator, Boolean operator.
Arithmetic, Boolean,
Relation operators,
relation,
analytical operators, logical operators.
logical operators, identity operator, and assignment operators. Okay. What is arithmetic operators? All your plus, minus, multiplication, division, and everything. Next,
relationship.
relationship,
Less than, greater than.
where you are checking the relationship between two variables. Then third,
Logical.
logical or assignment. ठीक है. Logical में क्या होता है? And or not, where you are checking the multiple conditions at the same time. Okay. Assignment,
Assigning any value.
assigning any value. Fifth,
Membership.
membership operator. You are checking whether a certain element is a part of your data structure or not. And last is your identity, which is memory related. We'll see how it is. Okay, when we do answer.
थोड़ा सा लास्ट क्वेश्चन में थोड़ा कंफ्यूजन हो गया.
कौन सा last में?
लॉजिकल में तो एंड और ऑर तक समझा मैंने.
हाँ हाँ
मेंबरशिप ऑपरेटर इन में है जैसा वो ए इन का
हाँ.
बराबर वो एक आ गया.
ठीक है.
आइडेंटिटी ऑपरेटर इज नॉट ये क्या हो.
ये we'll see when we identity वाला छोड़ दो अभी. We'll do when we do hands on. Membership में क्या होता है कि you are checking a certain element.
मेरे को इसमें रिलेशनशिप और असाइनमेंट में थोड़ा सा ये हो गया थोड़ा सा. फर्क क्या पड़ रहा है. लेस देन या इक्वल भी.
तो देखो इसमें ना समझो ये नहीं है खाली
इक्वल
equal बस. This is a shorthand operator. When we do hands on, I'll explain you. ठीक है. For now just think of assignment कि आपको कोई एक variable create करना है. Okay? And for creating that you are using only equal. Okay? यहाँ पे you have your comparison.
हां तो रिलेशनशिप समझ आया.
हाँ right. यहाँ पे बस that's the only difference, major difference. यहाँ पे mostly you use double equal to, यहाँ पे you use a single equal. ठीक है. Okay. Now everyone just open your laptops.